Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. Today, in episode 186, I'm very happy to bring back Dave Weiss, and I have another guest who's scheduled, but he may not be able to make it today, and that is Ryan Patrick Burns. And we're going to have another Too Spicy for YouTube Conspiracy Panel, Part 3, Flat Earth, Fact or Fiction. David Weiss, known as Flat Earth Dave, is a compelling figure in the realm of alternative cosmology, having left behind a successful business career to dedicate his life to unveiling what he knows to be the true nature of our world. As the host of the Flat Earth podcast and creator of the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, David has become one of the most vocal and influential advocates for flat Earth, challenging the conventional globe model with a blend of historical analysis, scientific inquiry, and personal experimentation. All of the links are below in the description box. Thank you for subscribing. Leave me a comment and please do smash that like button. Dave, so glad to have you back. Oh, there's Ryan. He did make it after all. Nice to see you, Ryan. And hello, Dave. Nice to have you both back on the Quantum Guide Show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Dave. How's it going? I'm told never meet your heroes, so I'm a little worried about today's podcast, but I think it'll be okay.
I'm going to reject that. That's fine, but thank you.
Ryan,
so I take it you're not a globe earther.
Well, I definitely know it's not round.
Okay, that's all. That's all that matters. Like to say that it's definitely something, we know that what it's not. We all agree it's not a globe flying through an infinite space vacuum. So we're all on the same team.
Yep. It's interesting. Once you leave the box, we're all in the same room, regardless of the subtle differences in our belief systems. And I was going to just start off by saying why I don't believe the Earth is a globe. And the reason I don't is, number one, everything we've been taught is bullshit and an inversion of what's real. So that's number one. Number two, there are no pictures of Earth from outer space. Not really. There are some stupid things that were taken outside of the window to show at a circular window to show a very poor image of what was supposed to be the Earth. But the truth of the matter is, I've never seen any images of, I'm going to trade you places, see if I can do that. Yeah, there, that way my thingy isn't taking up your picture. And so, I just, and then of course, NASA is such a joke. It is such poor quality, the crap they dish out and tell us it's real. So just on those three things alone, I know they're lying. I know it can't possibly be real. And so I look to other ideas. And I myself try not to have too many actual beliefs. I have working theories, and then I can add to those working theories as I get new information and I don't get stuck. So, Ryan, what's your take on it?
Oh man, you've said a lot of it. And for those who are unfamiliar with Flat Earth Dave, they should definitely check out his app that he has. My take on it is that I'm in a unique position. I've as many people know, I'm involved with a lot of innovative projects and consortiums, and I'm a fellow for what is known as the Space Technology Graduate Research Opportunities Program, which involves low Earth orbit stuff. And I follow this very closely. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of it goes through NASA. And everything, and I mean everything, in NASA's low Earth orbit program is all filmed with GoPros. All of it, without question, they keep changing to the newer version of GoPro, but just the lens itself is not going to give the correct depiction of the curvature of the Earth. So there's that. And that's why I say I know it's definitely not round. And the utmost, even the talking heads for the curve, I'll call it, say that it's not round. You know, they call it an oblate spheroid. They keep changing the paradigm as well. The circumference that they allege continues to change, and the curvature calculations continue to change. And even if we leave all the science out of it and we head towards more mainstream stuff, we have things like this new movie, Fly Me to the Moon, which is basically saying, well, let's turn this into a comedy, much like the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. When something comes out of the shadows and is a reality, like the Third Eye spy program with remote viewing, they make a joke out of it and then they can kind of unleash it to the masses. And the same is true with this movie, Fly Me to the Moon, where we have basically they're saying, well, it was very patriotic of us to fake the moon landing because we had to beat Russia in the Cold War. They're also saying this while maintaining, at least for the moment, that we actually went to the moon. I think that will eventually change as well. But they're slowly but surely changing the paradigm so it's more palatable for the masses to take in.
You know the movie. What's the movie with Matthew McConaughey, where he goes, where he leaves his kids, they're having blight on Earth. Inception, is it? Not Inception. Where he goes to another world and time goes by faster. And you remember the movie I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the movie, but I can't think of the name.
It's not Inception. Owen Benjamin was just talking about it the other day. He did a breakdown of it, and it was very interesting.
Interstellar? Was it
Interstellar? Yeah,
Interstellar, yeah.
Interstellar. And in that, there's a scene where the directors of the town or whatever, the government, what's ever left of the government, they're saying, well, they changed the school books that they no longer teach the moon landing was real.
Yeah.
And they just said it like as a matter of fact, well, we no longer are going with that story. We've changed the story, and they're really normalizing it. It's like it's become a normal thing. To go there, you know, even Joe Rogan, he used to be the poster boy of "There's no way we went to the moon." That's his famous quote. And then he had Neil deGrasse Tyson on after a long vacation, and Joe wore an orange astronaut suit during that episode, I believe. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, we definitely went to the moon. Definitely went to the moon." 8 years later, however long it's been, he's now flipped back again. He's now, hey, maybe we didn't go. Maybe it's BS, because they're literally normalizing it. They're tiring your brain. They're confusing you. It's the same thing they do with false flags and hoax shooting events, where it's, oh, there was this guy. Oh, no, it was this guy. Oh, there was 4 shooters. Oh, there was 2 shooters. Oh, Jeff Ballman had his leg blow off and it was played by this actor. No, it was played by this actor. No, it was like there's 3 different guys that played Jeff Ballman in the Boston bombing. So what that does is it tires out your brain. It makes you just give up trying to figure things out, and it just makes you not care. It's called mental. I don't know what it's called. Mental laziness or
Kind of fatigue. Mental
fatigue. That's it. And so I think that's what they're doing. And you know, I would love to believe that Joe Rogan is actually coming to the truth right now, but nobody's making $100 million contract and, you know, not compromised in a way, you know.
Now, for those that are watching and listening who are not really familiar with all the evidence, do you want to take a minute, Dave, and just talk about your app and where people can go to do their homework, to do the research, to get an understanding of the basics, because we're not necessarily going to cover the basics today.
Yeah, I mean, the basics are, you know, there's a couple different types of globies, we'll call them. There's the anti-flat earthers that are out here to deceive. Now, whether they're paid or possessed, it's the same thing. They're whatever is influencing them to lie outright. They're just doing that. Then there's the super educated, which means highly indoctrinated people that are awesome at memorizing the nonsense. If I wrote the book of bullshit and I gave it to you, Ryan, right? And you memorized it, and then you tested and you got 100 on it. Now you can teach everyone about the book of bullshit. And then let's say you taught 100 people, and 7 of them aced the test. They got 100% right. Now they can teach the book of bullshit. Doesn't make it true. It just means that you're a great memorizer and regurgitator. So then you have those people, and then you have the majority of the world that just believes and doesn't even know their own model. And I always say, if Globers, regular, ignorant, and ignorant's not a bad word. I am ignorant to everything I don't know. It's just a word, means you don't know. Okay. So the people that think the earth is a globe, they don't know their own model. I say if they knew 1/10 of their model, the globe model, then they would be flat earthers, or they would be anti-globers, because there's a whole question of what this place is, but it's definitely not a globe. So skipping all the basics, what was the exact question again? What was it?
For the listeners and viewers who haven't done the research, where's the best place they can go to get caught up, and then perhaps they can come back and watch this podcast again, because we're not necessarily going to cover all the real basic stuff today.
So the one place that you're not going to find it is on YouTube and Google. I just did the Jim Brewer podcast, and somehow our video ended up as #1 search for flat Earth on Google, on YouTube, for about 3 or 4 days, and it was #1 flat Earth. Bam, there it was. It was cranking the views, and all of a sudden it disappeared yesterday morning, I think, and it's off the charts. So if you Google flat Earth, you're going to get all of the propaganda. You're going to get the stuff that's going to give you mental fatigue. It's going to give you, you're not going to understand what's going on. And I have a shirt, and I actually wore it on his podcast that says, "You're not stupid, it's stupid." So what they do is they show you something, and you're like, well, I just can't figure it out. You can't figure it out, not because you're stupid. It's because it's stupid. It's unfigureoutable. So flatearthdave.com bypasses the censorship. My app right here. It's a $3 app, and then there is some higher functions that is a $11 a year subscription. You don't have to get the subscription. There's plenty to do. 95% of the app is included for the one-time price of $3, but every day there's a featured video. I have, if you hit the question mark button, that brings you to the frequently asked questions, and all the questions you're going to ask are here. My favorite right here, why the lie? Or where does the sun go? Right up here. And all of those videos that you'll find in there are going to answer all of your questions. And you're going to be like, I never knew that. I never thought of it that way. I never understood that. And then once you look, here's the thing. Once you see it, once you go flat, you never globe back. And that's a fact. However, you'll see the anti-flat earthers, the liars, the deceivers, the possessed people out there. They'll be like, oh, that's not true. I was a flat earther, for 5 years. And then I looked, then I did some research, and now I'm a glober. They're just liars. Go look at their channels. There's zero content on their channels. So flatearthdave.com. You can find my app. If you don't want to get the app, that's cool. Just scroll way down until you see a big picture of me, and it says Crash Course. Turn off Netflix, turn off Apple TV, turn off whatever service you have, and watch those videos for a couple days, couple weeks, a month. There's plenty of videos in there, and they're all awesome documentary. Some of them 25 minutes, some of them hour and a half. Great videos. And I have a challenge. Watch the daily video on the app for 2 weeks, and then give me a globe proof, and you win 3 Bitcoins. Or watch the first 5 videos in the Crash Course, send me 1 globe proof, and you win 3 Bitcoins. So there you go.
Yeah, no one's taken you up on that yet, have they?
They've tried, but I just send them right back to the frequently asked questions. Like, here's your answer, and then they're like, oh, wow, I never thought of that. It's amazing. The one thing all the globers try to do is they like to look at the lights in the sky, right? But if you think about it, this is kind of high level, but easy. Gas violently fills the available space. If I had a box of gas in a room that had no air, I'm in a vacuum, and I made a little hole in that, violently, it's going to just fill the room, right? Violently. You ever see the train car where they have the tanker car and they suck all the air out of it and it collapses? The steel car just collapses from the gas pressure because the gas is violently trying to fill the available space. Except in space. In space, you get so much helium and hydrogen, which defy gravity here on Earth, but somehow there's so much of it in space that it collapses upon itself and makes a nuclear furnace burning sun in a space vacuum that has so much gravity it could hold on to Pluto, but it can't tug on our moon. Okay? When you look at this stuff, it's so crazy, it's so stupid that people just give up. They're like, you know what? I don't have a degree. I can't figure this out, you know, and that's it. I mean, you know, I'm assuming most of your listeners are already there. They're already away from the ball, and figuring out what this place is an amazing, amazing fun thing to do. So, hope that wasn't too long.
Yeah.
FlatEarthDave.com. That's where everything is. FlatEarthDave.com. You can find everything there. You can get the app. You can do whatever you want.
So pretty much, Dave, I think most of us that have strayed or outside the box of the globe Earth idea, the image I put up here on the screen is sort of what we all agree upon. However, there could be infinite number of continents. And do you want to tell everybody why? I know why, but why we're programmed to believe that the basic continents that we've been told in history are a real thing is mostly because um, of so they could create the illusion of scarcity. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about that, and what does that achieve, that scarcity,
Yeah.
besides the fact that it makes us feel not special and
Well, that's one thing that
insignificant?
Globers love doing. You know, you get the trolls will follow me to your channel. They'll all leave comments. They'll never leave a globe proof. And if you go look at their channels, there'll be empty channels. But they say, "Oh, you flat earthers, you just want to feel special." You know what? I don't know. Everybody wants to feel special, but I didn't get into this because I wanted to feel special. I got into this because I wanted the truth. I didn't care I actually went in to disprove flat Earth. I went to just prove the globe and show that I'm smarter than all you stupid flat people. And then when I looked, I was like, wow, I never knew any of that. And then once you see it, you really can't unsee it. So why is the globe lie, right? Because we're born into God's world with natural law. And if the governments admitted that, they'd have to only make rules that obey God's law. So they decided to create a satanic globular model where literally from birth, they commoditize us with our birth certificate. They poison us with, those things they stick into us. And then they make us use their fiat money and we play on their ball field with their ball rules. On a globe, we're running out of fuel. We're overpopulated. An asteroid could hit us, global warming, all of this stuff's going on. And none of it is really happening. Right? What is beyond Antarctica? There could be other land out here. This would be extra land. Somebody lived on the extra land and came in, let's say, through this little opening. They would be an extraterrestrial from outer space, from the extra terra in the outer space. Here, physically possible in an enclosed system. So, the last thing, Ryan, you said that you are involved with space. Low Earth orbit, space. What was it? What did you say?
Yeah, I have a little science project up in the Uinta Basin next to Skinwalker Ranch, known as spacewolfresearch.com. And part of that has to, anyway, yeah, going into what I don't want to pull away from what you were saying, but yeah, I follow very closely NASA low orbit. Go ahead, low orbit projects.
Yeah, so everything NASA is they lie worse than anybody. They're the worst liars, and there's zero credibility there. I was communicating with a NASA whistleblower, and he said that the firmament starts as a plasma layer at about 72 miles up, and then it becomes liquid. I think he said water, and then or maybe some other special water or something. And then he said it becomes solid, and that NASA has the ability to go up there and explore, but they're expressly forbidden. When I asked him by who, he never answered me. So that's interesting in itself. But what I say is all of those people that like not Stephen Greer. I think he's pretty much a deceiver. But who's the guy? The other big UFO guy. He's on every show. It'll come to me. But these guys, their work with extraterrestrials, with abductions, with experiences, with people traveling to other worlds, it makes sense on a flat Earth. Their stories become more credible on a flat Earth versus an impossible heliocentric space vacuum system. I mean, we're a ball. Then there's a burning ball of gas 93 million miles away that has enough gravity to hold everything together, ignoring the three-body problem. right? And everything just works perfectly like a clock and never changes. And none of the stars ever cross each other's path due to parallax, which would happen every hour of every day for all of history, but it never happens, right? So the closest star to us is 25 trillion miles away. 25 trillion miles. Oh, that doesn't sound that bad. You know, we're 75 trillion in debt. You know, that's not that far, right? 25 trillion miles. You can't fathom what that is. I don't know if you watch my stuff, but I got a question for you. If you do, you might know the answer. You said you're a fan. You probably know. You probably know what I'm going to ask. How long is 1 trillion seconds? You know?
I think over 3,000 hours.
Okay, over 3,000 hours. Ryan, you want to take the over or the under on that?
Let
No
me unmute
calculator.
myself. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm unmuting myself here. I'm going to take the over, saying that it's going to be just less than maybe 33 years.
Okay, very, very close. 31,000 years. Okay, both of you. 1 trillion seconds. So why am I talking about seconds? I just want to show you how big a trillion is. If we're in a rocket ship that's going 1 mile per second, and we're going to travel to the closest star. No one's ever gone 1 mile per second. It's really fast. And we went for 31,000 years. We've gone 1 trillion miles. We're going a mile per second, 1 trillion miles. We got to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star, right? 31,000 years. We got to do that 24 more times. But Elon's a good buddy of mine. He's going to give me a rocket, goes 100,000 miles an hour. Pretty cool, right? It's only going to take us 28,000 years to get to the closest star. And when we get there, we go, oh man, there's no one on these planets. Let's go to the next star, which is 50 times farther. Okay. This is where they dilute you, where you want to dilute something. You have a glass of milk. If I poured it into a gallon container of iced tea, it's kind of a mess. But if I poured it into a swimming pool, you're probably not going to notice it. If I poured it into the ocean, it's gone. Well, that's infinite expanding space is bigger than all of the oceans in the world by quadrillions and trillions and sextillions, whatever. It's just the way to dilute your mind, to dilute creation. It's a way to literally give you that mental fatigue where you're like, I can't figure this out. You know, the universe is expanding at I think it's 1 billion miles an hour or a minute or a second or a day. It doesn't matter. It's expanding into nothingness at a rate that your human mind can't even comprehend. But in reality, we're at the center of creation. There may or may not be more land beyond Antarctica. We certainly don't need to go beyond where we're allowed to go by our controllers to prove the Earth is level, stationary, non-rotating, non-moving, and the stars above us are fixed in their position and spinning above us. We do not need to, but I think there's more land. I think we live in a place like this. Like we live in the center here. This is our pond. And then these are other pieces of the plane, little ponds. Those are planets, pieces of the plane. And that's right here. So these could be all of the other planets they're talking about. These are other civilizations. And then you guys, you've seen my thing on, we found, we were tracking some ships and we found a ship that was like 700, 800 miles inside of the shoreline of Antarctica. How does a 850 meter ship get inside of Antarctica? And then when we look, we're like, wait a minute. If the Earth was flat like we thought, they're actually going to the outer lands. And maybe that's where we're getting our computer chips from, our tuna fish from. Maybe they're trading children. Who knows what's going on? You know, weapons, technology. So
for those of you who are interested in learning more about that, on Dave's website, there is the audio recording of the Iron Republic. So I've been listening to it. It's really long, like 5 hours or something, but I've gotten probably 3/4 of the way through it. And that guy came back and he talked about which is one of these lands outside of the known world that we're taught about. And the technology just blew me away. The technology that he talks about. I really recommend people go listen to it because he'd be hard pressed to make that stuff up, right, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. On the app, you can just go to the video search, which is the magnifying glass, and just search in Iron Republic, and you'll get you can find it there easily. Because it's being hidden when you try to find it online. And in the app, there's a book section and there's a there's a more land section. And there's some great books there. There's a new kids book and kids book for adults, because I'm reading it. It's awesome. It's called Happus. And my friend Rich and a couple other people wrote it. And it's about it's an interesting twist. It's kids that live in the outer lands, and they heard about how crazy it was on the inner lands, and they came in here to have an experience and see why we all believe that we live on a spinning ball. And it's really it's a great book to read to your kids, get their minds thinking. I love it, and it's high quality book. It's expensive, but it's a great, really good book to read to your kids. If you have little kids, it's good for them, and it's also, I love it. So there's a lot of books, and then in there is the Iron Republic again, and all sorts of other awesome books. The Smoky God is another one. But here's the thing about the Iron Republic. It was about a politician, really short, in the 1800s that got tired of nonsense here, and he got a ship, went to Antarctica. He ended up going through a little opening, and then they were lost at sea, and then they found a place, and he ended up living there, got married. I think his wife died, and he ends up coming back to Florida and tells the story about technology, different governments, everything, whether it's true or not, and it rings true to me. But whether it's true or not, in the 1800s, they were talking about more land beyond Antarctica, right? Everyone's like, oh, we've known the Earth is a globe for 2,000 years. That's baloney. That's not true. They were teaching flat Earth up to the 1950s here, right? Just go on my app, search Ruth. Search 102-year-old. I think you search, her name is Ruth. And I interviewed a woman in 2020 or 2022? 2020. And she was telling me that she was taught flat Earth in school, in public school here in Connecticut in the 1920s. It's pretty cool.
I had a teacher when I was in elementary school, and this is around the time of the so-called moon landing. And he said that all the schools taught the flat Earth model. They didn't call it that, but the same thing. And then when he started saying that one day people were going to go to the moon in rocket ships, he got fired from being a teacher. So that's how foreign the whole globe Earth concept was when he was a young man teaching school. And so he was telling us about it when I was in, I don't know, grade 7 or 8, something like that. So I thought that was interesting.
I talked to somebody that went to school in the 1950s, early 60s, and they were teaching both because they didn't know. And then all of a sudden, the Gleason's map got taken out of encyclopedias, books, out of everywhere. And they just, that's it. Rockefeller medicine, chemical-based medicine, and Earth is a globe, and that's it. And the Globers, their best proofs are always somebody from 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Oh, this guy, Copernicus, this, guys that they never met, that don't even know if we're real. There's a story being told by the captors, of our world. We are literally prisoners in their world. You guys have looked into the old world, right? I assume.
Yeah.
Have you watched Old World Order yet?
Tartaria
Exactly.
and there's a whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Old World Florida.
On the app, I have a Griffin button, which is the old world. And there's great stuff here. But one of the great movies by Sean Hibbler, who did Level, The Next Level, and Level with Me, a trilogy that anyone new to Flat Earth needs to watch. He did Old World Order. And it's basically an intro for people that have no idea that not some, all of your history is a lie. All of it. Every bit of it. Every bit of it's 100% a lie. And there's some other great guys in here. We got Jake. I'm the Probable Dreamer he's on Instagram. Yeah, he's awesome there. You got John Levy, but my favorite is My Lunch Break. These two red ones up here. You got to start watching those. This guy is breaking down everything. It's the stories are incredible, and he's not making conclusions. He's like, look at this. This is what they're telling us. And you're like, that's stupid. That's impossible. And he's letting you make up your own mind on what the real story is, but we know what the real story isn't, and it isn't what they're telling us. So that's another thing. when you discover flat Earth, you're like, oh, that's it. That's the last time my mind's going to be blown that big. Not true. There's so many things on flat Earth that will blow your mind
Yeah,
even farther. And some people just have a hard time getting to flat Earth. So I say, start them out with old world order, because old
yeah.
world order, the old world will bring you right to flat Earth, whether you want to go or not.
Yep, yep, I totally agree. So I just want to take a short break for a 2-minute promotion, then we'll come back. And then I want to get into, if the world isn't a globe, what might it be? I've got some ideas. I know Ryan's got some ideas. Dave, you got some ideas, and we don't have to agree, but it's just theories and ideas, because we're basically, I don't know, just trying to make sense of the information that isn't available. So we'll be right, we'll be right back. Hi guys, break time for a short message. YouTube will not monetize me, so if you enjoy my content and want to support my efforts, help me to cover my expenses by visiting my shop to buy yourself a beautiful orgone generator. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand, and they are ethically sourced, handmade, and double charged for maximum effect. They are only available through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. Many people are finding comfort with Zendome's orgone generators, commonly called Orgonite. They are a simple compound which balance ambient energy by converting negative energy and EMF into positive healing energy with many easily confirmed health benefits. They are a simple compound with alchemic and energetic properties. These devices function as self-driven, continuously operating, highly efficient, negative to positive energy transmutation factories. They help diminish the harmful effects of electromagnetic frequency radiation by attracting and converting negative energies, retuning them into new and more healthful sound and light wave patterns. And they help to purify the atmosphere and accelerate plant growth. They also help stimulate positive mood and are a natural remedy for poor sleep patterns. When Orgonite is within range of any corded or wireless electronic device, it will efficiently and continuously transform that energy into orgone as it is being transmitted. This essentially creates orgone energy transmitters out of any and all emitters of harmful negative energy. You can use these devices for focusing the mind, healing, meditation, and for spiritual growth. Zendome's Orgonite are my unique brand of orgone generators, and they are only available through my website. Don't be fooled by imitations. Check out my website to see my latest selection at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. Check them out today. Now, let's get back to the show. And we're back. So I thought I would just talk a little bit about my perception. Dave, can you put up the image with the many different ponds that you had up earlier?
Sure.
Because it really, okay, I'm not a great video game player, but I have played a game or two, and this has sort of helped to shape my idea, which is more along the lines of simulation theory. So if we don't live in a globe, we live in something else. To me, it makes a lot of sense that we're in some kind of a simulation. Now, when I've played video games, I'm often given maps similar to this, where I can go into different lands, but there's always a barrier. I can only go so far, and that's where the game ends, because it doesn't render, it's not programmed to render beyond that point. So when we take a look at the flat Earth model, there's what they call the firmament, or the dome, that covers our pond or our area, or the area that we've been contained to by the powers that be. And I'm wondering what you think of this, Dave. Is it possible that it's just that there's nothing being rendered beyond that dome, and that's why we can't get beyond it. I don't know. I don't mean to sound foolish. It's just that this is sort of just how it seems logical to me. You're muted, Dave. Dave, you're muted.
I know.
There.
I made a good joke and now you missed it. It's all
Sorry.
right. It's okay. I said, of course, you're going to be sound foolish because you think the Earth is flat. So we're just going to start there. That's a little joke. But so that idea. So have you guys seen the book? The guy that made that this map comes from. It comes from a book called The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall, right? And this guy's got a series of books out. They're awesome. And basically, it's literally the story of Star Wars, but here on Earth, where there's hostile lands and non-hostile lands, and there's the guardians or the custodians that allow passage through the outer spaces. And they say that only people that reach a certain vibration or a certain level of growth, of certain, a certain level, can actually pass through these barriers and continue to the other levels. So looking at it as some sort of simulation game, we are stuck in here because of our minds, because they've literally fluoridated and poisoned our minds. So we're not expanding and we're stuck. We're stuck. We could be stuck here. But those that rise up and change their vibration and get to the next level, if you will, maybe those are the ones that can go farther. Maybe that's where all of these missing civilizations have gone. Maybe that's where the Mayans have gone, where these former civilizations, maybe they all expanded outwards. They all went outwards,
Mhm.
we don't know. The sun maybe does, the Bostock saga says the sun started in the north, and that's where all the people started, right? So the sun's oscillating, going farther and farther out. And then all of a sudden, what if the sun just said, you know what? I'm not going to go back to Cancer this year. I'm going to go right past Capricorn, and I'm going to go out, and I'm going to start circling somewhere else. Well, everybody would follow it. And so it went from here to these outer lands here, right?
Mhm.
And so they all moved out there. This would become cold again until another savior, the sun, showed up again and started melting out that land. So
Mhm.
those are different levels, different, people that have gone to different levels. So you could relate that to some sort of simulation, because this place is literally like a computer board. Have you seen what was it? The fittest flat earther. I don't know if you follow him. He's on TikTok. He was just showing these stadiums and how stadiums are energy harvesters. And he was showing
Mhm.
the view of a stadium from the sky and the city that it's in. And then he showed a computer motherboard, and you couldn't tell which one was which. It was the same thing. It was the
Mhm.
same setup, the buildings, the layouts, the everything. And it's I again, the word simulation, I don't know if it's the right word. It very well might be, but I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't think it is the right word because it's real. What we're experiencing is real. But
For sure.
even when you show that when you're looking out at the horizon over the ocean, you see that there's just this line of the horizon. And then if you use binoculars or a telescope, you can see there's actually ships and boats out there. But before you use the telescope, this is getting into quantum physics, your eye says there's nothing there. As far as you're concerned, there's nothing there. But as soon as you use a telescope or binoculars and you see them, then it's like it's being rendered in real time so that there is something there. So I don't know if it's possible that everything is all here all the time, or it's when it's observed that then it renders in more detail the closer we look. And that gets a bit into the double split experiments and all that kind of stuff. So that's sort of where I'm going when I say simulation. I think it's
Right.
all real, but there's a whole lot more than we
And
ever
when you
dreamed.
say when you say things don't render, right?
Yeah.
Um, there's different types of perspective, right? So this line to this line is whatever amount of distance this is, right? And the distance from this line to this line is much less, right? Maybe it's 1/30th. Maybe that from here to here looks to be 30 times farther.
Unless it's farther away.
Of course. So you're with me. So here's a shot from my beach, and from the shoreline to this line, which is pointing at this island. This island is just over a quarter of a mile away. But from here to that line, that's 25 miles to New York City. Okay, so that's New York City. If I zoomed in, I could show it to you, right? So from here to here in my visual field, so let's say my ground visual field stops here. This is the sky visual field, and here's the ground visual field. So this is 97% of my visual field is a quarter mile. But then 100 times that distance is that next 3%. It's all crammed into there.
Mm-hmm.
And until you're there, you can't see it. Until you zoom in and open it up, it doesn't render. That's how our eyes work in reality. It's not rendering.
So it's like it's not real to us until we actually zoom in and then see it. And then we go, oh my God, there's a much greater distance in that tiny little strip than what I'm seeing from here. And then it becomes real.
Right. This boat, we move it out here, it gets a quarter of the size. And then we move it out here, a quarter mile, it's, I don't know, a tenth of the size. Right. And then if we gotta reduce it that from this amount. So we got to make this that much smaller 100 times before it gets to that next line. So it is going to disappear. It is not going to render. That's how we see. People think that when you look, how come I can't see London from New York? Because you're an idiot. That's why. That's why you can't see it. Okay. And that's how things work. So again, it's not a theory. Things don't render that are right in front of us until you're there, until you get into it.
Yeah, it's very much like a video game. Now, I realize I've been talking a lot. I wanted to give Ryan a chance to talk about his theory and his ideas. Ryan, what do you have to say?
I really like what all you guys are saying. All of your everything you've mentioned is very important, and I would say that there is a deeper symbolic meaning, a lot like Dave says. And earlier when he asked, a trillion seconds, I'd heard that before, and I knew it was just shy of 33. I messed up and didn't add the 1,000, but the 33, the number 33 is super important.
It's 31, by the way.
It's not startling how 33 has traditionally been an esoteric number that was used by those in mastermind positions. So when it comes to space, when you ask yourself, why does SpaceX use 33 engines on their Raptor while NASA used 5? It's because NASA was using the 5 in the pentagram fashion, which is also esoteric, and ever since Jack Parsons. So interestingly, when it comes to 33, it's laughable, really. The deeper symbolic meaning. Of course, many of the astronauts were 33 honorary level 33 Masons. But then more importantly, you have like runway 33, the shuttle landing facility with a 33-degree northwest bearing. And you have, of course, the suggestion that you have to go 33 times the speed of sound to escape Earth's velocity. And as Dave said, this is an uglier truth. This is a bigger lie. This is not about, there's something more. It's not a simulation, as you said. I think it's more of a simulacrum, in meaning that this is just one layer to a bigger onion. And it very much has to do with the Rockefellers, the American educational system, and how, children had to be basically forced into a new era, a new reality, a collective discipline of basically having to become workers because of assembly lines. And they had to be regulated not by the cycle of the sun and the moon, but by a factory whistle and the clock. And so show up to school, learn to do things repetitively, go home, and then we will entertain you through our screens. And this mass educational system, the Rockefeller system, this machine created this simulacrum. And the only difference between a simulation and a simulacrum is that one is an unsatisfactory imitation or substitute, which is exactly what we have. This is why Dave, yourself, and I know that something it's unsatisfactory. A random observer can tell that this image or representation of what we're seeing is not exactly right. And people have always looked at the stars with wonder and amazement, which is the correct way to look at them. And now we look at the stars and there's no wonder or amazement because NASA has told us exactly what they all are. We've mapped it all out. No need to look up here. And I argue that, this whole new era of space exploration, they realize that they have to change the paradigm from NASA to something else, enter SpaceX, a new paradigm, a new narrative. And this has all been predictively programmed through Werner von Braun's 1952 book, Project Mars, where Elon would take us and take a colony, create a colony on Mars. I mean, how many people do you know with the name Elon? It's basically that example in the book. And of course, the example that's actually claiming he can take us to Mars. Interestingly, they have a bit of a loose cannon on their hands, which is going to play out very interestingly. But yeah, there is a lot bigger deal going on. And, interestingly, Space Force used to have a space plane called the X-33. And they changed it for the X-37 because the X-33 was getting such a bad rap because, again, we had another 33 on our hands. And a gentleman I know very well whose son-in-law works for Space Force, the United States Space Force, he had a few too many drinks and they were talking one day and he said, do you see how that looks like it's skipping on the water up there when you see these space planes like the Boeing X-37 or the X-33 allegedly, or these other space planes, how these orbital test vehicles are bouncing on the surface? He said that they're actually trying to find a way out. And it's a way out of what, right? That's what you have to ask yourself. So maybe the guy had too many. I don't know. I don't work for Space Force, but it's things like these when they come from good sources that make me wonder that, yeah, it leaves me wanting more. I think there's more to how things really are than we are being told.
For sure.
I just want to correct one thing. The 33s are everywhere. They're in every article. They're everywhere. It's 31,000 years. So that one's not a 33, but there are plenty. Your point is well taken. It's just people are going to go, no, it's 31,000 years. It's close. It's close, but it's not 33 on that one.
Just that's what I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I'm not foo-fooing anything you said. We can do an entire show on the 33s that they use. Everything has a 33 in it. It's incredible. Every false flag, license plate, cop number on the car, 33. It's everywhere. They need to show it along with a whole bunch of other, things.
Yeah, it's a master number. Really... yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it just that also underscores why people need to go and do research on the old world and the old system before like the 1800s, because it isn't just the architecture, it's everything was so advanced. And then suddenly came the whole Rockefeller thing. And then we started getting poisoned with toxins in everything and dummied down and told all lies and just... I really encourage everyone to go and do research on the old world. So what were you going to... Sorry for interrupting, guys. I guess I didn't
that's right. You didn't get off. On my website, just start. If you're brand new to this, start with Old World Order. Go in the app, hit the Tartaria button, the Old World button, the Griffin. And there is enough information there to, and more being added all the time to keep you busy forever. Forever. And you ever look at the Space Force logo? Flip it over. It's literally Baphomet, right to the star, everything. It's Baphomet.
And it's so huge. The old world is like, that's what they're trying to erase. And I think Dave has kind of pointed this out. I love Sean Hibbler. He's been on my podcast various times. And what you realize is you don't have to go that far back, as Dave mentioned with Ruth. if you look that up on his website. You don't have to go that far back. In fact, everything prior to the 1920s, I think it was 1908, where they actually took the ether out of the elemental systems.
Yep.
And in everything after 1920 was like a new paradigm and this new Rockefeller educational system. And there's a reason why they had to take the belief that there was an ether or a magical component to our atmosphere. They removed that for a reason. People had a greater understanding of how things worked prior to 1920. The books before 1920 were written differently. The ugly truth is that everything was different. People would do everything differently. Everybody knew how to do things for themselves. After that, this was rejected. Rely on the government, and you don't need to know how to can your own vegetables, make your own alcohol in your still for your tractor. You don't need to do all these things anymore. We can handle this for you, creating generation by generation more sheeple, I'd like to call them, which in an attempt to basically distance the superclass and power elite from the masses. And, I often remind myself of that quote of like one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, who said when he was in talks with the crown, and this was over like very little tax at the time compared to what we pay now. But he said, they who cannot give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. But that's what's happened. We're told, oh, you know what? You don't need to grow your own crops. We'll put a grocery store, just down the road. You can go get that. It's easier. It's more convenient. The only problem is we have conveniently painted ourselves into a corner where we are forced to believe whatever we are told because we no longer have the tools to find out ourselves. It's as if I own a ladder and it's the tallest ladder around, and I'm NASA and I say, I've been to the top of the ladder. I know what's there, but I won't let you go up the ladder. You are forced to believe what I tell you because you don't have a ladder, and good luck trying to get a ladder. Well,
Right.
the ladder doesn't work. And it's great that Dave and yourself are attacking this because it's one of the biggest questions of our time.
I totally agree. It's they're literally hiding all the truth from us. Like in their heliocentric system, things break the laws of physics. Gas we're a rocky ball surrounded by smooth curved water that never shows any convexity, surrounded by high pressure air adjacent to a void, a vacuum of no pressure, right? That breaks every law of physics. But if somebody comes up with an over unity device, something that pulls energy out of nothing, out of the air, out of the ground, that's a threat to national security, right? And then it gets confiscated. It gets taken away. That person, that he decided to kill himself, his daughter, and his dog. Who knew that? And he shot himself in the back of the head twice. Anybody that tries to bring something forward that will unlock us from this slavery, they end up, not in a good place usually. So we'll see. I think that the cat's out of the bag here. There's too many people waking up to flat Earth. I mean, if you look on my app, we just hit over 200,000 people on the Friend Finder, and it's growing super fast. I expect to hit 1 million in the next year. All right. These are people, this is 1%, less than 1% of the flat earthers out there, right? Not everybody has my app, right? This is the UK. It's crazy, and it's growing faster and faster every day. Literally, I was on, we hit 200,000 Friday night. What's today? Today is Wednesday, and we're at 201,000 and climbing. So
Fantastic.
It's so huge. This link in the chain that is, should be something that we all independently know, which is where we live. We should know where we live. And, it's such a bigger question than that. And I think Dave had mentioned earlier, or I'm sorry, you did, Karen, that this is more about abundance versus scarcity. And I think that's really the bigger deal, right? Is it an open or closed system? And if they tell you they have the answer and we don't, then it's a closed system. There's only so much Earth. There's no extra lands. there is only so far you can go on your own without our help, then we are forced into a menial existence where we rely on Big Brother to give us the scraps that are left over. But if you realize that it's a more open system and that there is the mastery that we can all take this information and independently verify it for ourselves, create our own paradigm, I argue that like we will see that the world will change. Things will become better. I mean, you drive across the country and there's so much land without people on it. But yet you turn on your TV and you'd swear there's not enough anything for anybody. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of inner toil that you can be remedied with just independent thinking.
Now, we're quickly running out of time, and I know, Dave, you have to go pretty much right after the hour. I'm wondering if you want to spend a few minutes, Dave, telling us, where people can find you, what you're up to, that kind of thing. And that way, if you have to leave before we complete the show, that's totally okay. And then, Ryan, I'll get you to come in afterwards and tell people all about what you're doing, especially because I missed you in the introduction.
I got another, I can go about 10 more minutes. But everything of mine can be found at flatearthdave.com. There's tons of free stuff there. There's the app, which is $3. If you're not sure about the app, don't get the app. It's okay. But if you want to have the resources at your fingertips, you want to be able to pull up stuff really quickly when you're talking to somebody, there's nothing else like it. And I'm saying that because it's true. I mean, go read the reviews. Like on the app, I go to images and you ask me about maps. I just type in map. And bam, here are all the different maps, and we can talk about the moon map. Have you guys looked into the moon map? I'm sure, which is wild. There's so much stuff out there. You explain to somebody how they took our map, they wrapped it around a sphere, and they tell us we're not allowed to go here because we don't want to disrupt the penguins, right? But maybe that's because they don't want us going out. They don't want us. The two places where you're not allowed to explore virtually or physically, the North Pole and the South Pole, those are the two places that would tell us where we don't live or where we do live, right? And then not by looking up at the lights in the sky, by actually seeing the earth, right? If I came to your house to put a rug in your room and I started measuring the lights in your ceiling, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Right? I'd have to measure the floor, right? We measure the floor. There is no curvature. There is no rotation. With all of the motions in the sky, that we're going, we're traveling 4.4 billion miles a year, right? Never to return to where we were before. All the other stars are doing their own thing, and never once have two stars changed position due to parallax, right? Never once have two stars changed position, right? That's, and by itself, it's over, right? The stars are fixed, and, flatearthdave.com, tons of stuff there. And I just say, wake up to Flat Earth. And then your job is to wake up your friends and family and strangers.
Wonderful. And Ryan, what are you up to and where can people find you?
Sure. You can find me at Hero Paranormal on YouTube or Hero Paranormal on Patreon, or just go to heroparanormal.com. Stands for the Hyper Anomalous Esoteric Research Organization. And I just like researching topics that those in control, rather, people don't research. And, arguably, the answers are always the same. Everything is a globe. Look at the stars, look at the other planets. And, this is unfortunately not the truth. In fact, even the universe is flat with a margin of error of only 0.4%. Galaxies are flat. Black holes are flat. All these things are flat when you look at the cosmology through telescopes. So we're taking the opinions that everything is round when you look deeper, a lot of it is flat. And it's interesting. It's interesting. Why would the greater structure of our universe be flat? Yet that doesn't seem to fit into the working paradigm that they're trying to sell us. And I say they're trying to sell it to us because they are. I mean, that recent movie, which I'm glad they came out with, it was only a matter of time that NASA had to start covering its tracks. No offense against NASA. There's some great minds that come out of there, and I'm friends with some of them. But the reality is they have a larger topic than they're able to control. And this movie had to come out with is it Channing Tatum? Channing? Yeah. Anyway, he recently came out and said something ruthless against flat earthers. He was like, F flat earthers. Haven't you been in a plane? Haven't you seen the curve? And just that statement is so redundant because you can't see the curve from a plane. In fact, you can't see the curve from a lot of the places where traditionally people have held this as proof that the curve exists, because they'll say, oh, well, I was at this level and I could see the curve. Then you find out that the curve is actually not visible from that level, not even 33,000 feet. So yeah,
They always,
Mhm.
they always backpedal. You know, they say you can see from an airplane. We proved that you couldn't. They go, oh, you can see from a big fighter, and you know, the MythBusters did that, but one of their cameras wasn't a fisheye. We're like, look, what about this camera? And then Neil deGrasse Tyson comes out. He goes, well, you have to go up as high as 120,000 feet. You know, with the Red Bull, and then we showed that the Red Bull showing that half the Earth is Arizona, or no, you know, I think it was Arizona, and so none of that works. And they just constantly move the goalposts. The reason you can't see the curvature is because it's not curved. I mean, you ever think about that? I mean, if something doesn't curve, then it's what, right? And when you show actual evidence, I want to show you one thing before I go. This
Sure.
might people ask me what's your favorite proof, and I think I found it. I think I literally found my favorite proof of all. So right now people say, well, how does the sun light up exactly half of the Earth? And it's because the sun is, as it goes out, the light wraps around. Because we're right near the equinox right now, it's a kind of the sun is making a circle, and then it's also wrapping around. So we're getting this equal day and night. But if we jump forward, we go to, where are we now? We're in September, October, November, December. So in December, when the sun's way out there, it really wraps around and you have this wider area of light. Now, on a ball, I don't care how it's twisted, tilted, spinning, the sun can only light up exactly half of the ball all the time. It can only light up half the ball all the time. People go, well, that's because this map is distorted. That's why it looks different. Okay, cool. I like that. We're going to go with that. But 6 months later, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sun comes all the way in. It's not wrapping as much, and you kind of more have a round. You have more of a round shape because it's not refracting around or bouncing off the dome so much. So that's not the proof. I want to show you. That's this little background for my proof, and the proof is this. Right? So we have the Gleason's map. This is the best map that we have. Oops, let me get that out. And all right. And this is from the Weather Channel. And they're like, on this day, the sun is the 70% of the Earth. I think it was 72 or 73% of the Earth is in light. Can't have that on a globe. How can 73% of the Earth be lit up by a single source light? Get a basketball, go into a pitch black room, have a light on the far side of the room, that's the sun, spin, twist, tilt the basketball. It's always exactly 50% lit. So let's look at that on a map, right? So this is from day, what's it called? Day, night, time and date. This is showing at this date, August 13th, California is just about to get dark. South America is completely in the light. Everything's in the light except Australia and these islands over here. Okay, so this is the only thing that's not lit right now. Right? This is a real world observation of the lighting pattern. So let's take a look. So we have the Gleason's map, and the sun was right there. We're going to put the sun right where they said the sun was. And we're going to lift it up and see, can it make that pattern? So we lift it up, and look, South America, California, everything except Australia and these islands are in the dark. Hey, that works on a flat Earth map. Let's take a look on a globe. So we got the globe here. So here's Australia. We'll put Australia right in the dark. So Australia and those islands are now in the dark. And we walk around to the other side. We have a single source light. And look, South America is in the dark. America's in the dark. it doesn't work. So let's reorient the globe. We're going to put South America right where they said it was, and we have it tilted correctly to the sun, right? So South America is in the light, California is just getting dusk, and we go back over to the other side, and all of Russia is in the dark. It's like there's too much. All of this, we're going to show you. All of that should be in the light. It should be like that, but it doesn't work on a globe, right? It doesn't work on a globe. This is the lighting pattern. This is redoable on our map, and it matches reality. One of them matches reality, and the other one doesn't work at all. What is the global excuse of that other than you're an idiot? You get out of your mother's basement. You know, that's all they have. They got nothing. They have nothing.
Yeah.
They have nothing. So observable, testable reality versus impossible on the globe. The only thing they could say is the globe is wrong. The continents aren't in the right place on the globe. Okay, let's have that discussion. All right. Everything's a lie on the globe. So there you go.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, it's been great having you, Dave, and having you, Ryan, on the Quantum Guide Show. Thank you so much for coming today. Hope to have you back one day soon. Just going to quickly check the chat, see if we missed anything. And the Name of Caution has posted quite a bit, but we just haven't had the time to go into his discussion. But for those of you who want to check out what he has to say, you can check out the live chat. So I want to thank you both very much, and I want to thank the listeners and the viewers, whether you're watching it live or the replay. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you all next week on the Quantum Guide Show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.